Israel yesterday struck Iran hard, precisely, and quietly. And before the screaming starts from the headlines, the chambers of the UN, the cable news panels, let's stop and ask ourselves a few hard questions, shall we? First of all, is this America's war? The answer is no. Should we be there fighting it? Answer, no. Has Israel asked us to fight their war? Answer, no. Is this another Iraq, or is it something entirely different? Well, let me tell you what makes this moment unlike anything else we have faced before. First, this was not a call to war. This was not a land invasion. This is not a campaign to topple a regime and then sit around for 20 years trying to rebuild a culture that doesn't want what we have. Even though Iran, the Iranian people are good people, the Persians are great people, and they do want a life like ours. But this was targeted. This was surgical. This was preemptive. Not against an idea, not against a guess, against the very real, very stated intentions of a regime run by men who do not think like we think, okay? They do not want what we want. We choose life. They literally choose death. That is as clear as it is. Do you choose life or do you choose death? That is a culture of death. So I want to start with the clerics of Iran, the ayatollahs, the supreme leader, the mullahs, the puppet masters of the so-called Islamic Republic and their Sharia law. I have said this for years and years and years. If you don't understand this, you don't understand Iran. These are 12ers. They are followers of a branch of Shiite Islam that believes not just in the return of the messianic figure called the Mahdi, but also that his return can and must be, in their words, hastened or accelerated. And the only way to do that is to, quote, using their words, wash the world in blood. Okay, I think I'm out at that. You know, that's my first stop on the train. And I'm like, I'm going to get off here, please. Let me say this again. The highest religious leader who actually is in charge of the entire country, the one who commands the Revolutionary Guard, who fund the terror groups by Hezbollah and Hamas, the ones who train children to chant death to America in the streets, believe the world must be engulfed in destruction and flames to usher in the end times. And they mean that the same way we mean that. And that this is the regime trying to build a nuclear bomb. Now, I have a problem with this because I've been talking about this since 2000, maybe 2002. Oh, they're very close to a bomb. They're very close to a bomb. You know, I stopped listening to John Bolton a long time ago. It was a kind of cute little oldie thing that he was, you know, he'd bring up once in a while, but I don't know if they were close to the bomb. I don't know if anybody knows they were close to the bomb. Maybe. I will tell you what Benjamin Netanyahu told me in like 2010. I had a meeting with him and I'm like, are they close to a bomb? He said, I don't know, but when we believe that they are truly close to a bomb, it doesn't matter what the world will say. We will go in and do it ourselves if we have to. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Okay, so they want a nuclear bomb because they want to wash the world in blood. Now, contrast that with the doctrine of mutually assured destruction that has kept peace between nuclear superpowers for over a half century. The Soviets, they didn't want to die, okay? The Chinese Communist Party, they don't even want to die. Even North Korea, as crazy as that fat dude is, he doesn't want to lose power and his life. But Iran, they're not afraid of death because they got all those virgins coming their way. They see martyrdom as a promotion. They don't want to win a war. They want to ignite the good old end of days. So ask yourself, what happens when those beliefs collide with the power of a nuclear warhead? And by the way, you should answer this now because we're going to have to answer this when France topples to the same kind of radicals and when England topples to the same kind of radicals. Do we go in and get their weapons? Because you do not want these regimes with nuclear weapons. Now, with all of that said, I don't want my son going off to war. I don't want America, again, to play the policeman or be dragged into another theater of blood and sand. Enough is enough. It doesn't work. But I also do not want to be the father who has to tell his children, yeah, we saw it coming. I knew what they believed. We saw what they were building, but we didn't do anything, because, well, I mean, who are we to say? When the only country most affected by this did something last night surgically, they're the tip of the spear. They're the ones that are going to get speared first, vaporized first, and they're the ones that are like, you know what? I don't care what the rest of you guys say. I'm taking care of this. And they did something surgical